Hello, my name is Mike Ellis and I'm the Business Development Director for Abbey Logistics Group. Today I'm going to run you through a short presentation covering how we use telematics and data during the lockdown as a result of the recent pandemic. Telematics have been around for a long time now, starting with really vehicle location and then moving on to more developed solutions around driver behaviour, vehicle performance. And lots and lots of data has come out of that over time, but that's not really what we're going to go through today. This is more about an exceptional set of circumstances, how we could use information from telematics in a different way, and how that helped us as a business in terms of Abbey Logistics to manage our business through the pandemic and achieve some good results in exceptional circumstances. I'm going to cover a little bit of background about Abbey Logistics first, because that will give you some context around what I'm going to talk to you about, so you understand the background of what we were trying to achieve and how our business operates. Then we'll go through how we use data and worked with Microlise, our telematics provider, to enhance data and to refine data to help us manage the business, what we learned from that, the good things we take away from that, and then move on to how we can use that information going forward for the benefit of our business and our customers. Okay, so first of all, we'll go into the background. Obviously, then, as I said, how we use the data, then maintaining the benefits. So background. So Abbey Logistics is primarily, well, exclusively really, a bulk distribution company based around road tanker transport. We work in two main sectors, liquid transport and powder transport, covering a range of products through food, industrial, non-hazardous chemical, and various powder products. The business employs 600 people, of around 460 of those are drivers. As I said, we work in two divisions, liquid, food and bulk powders. And we also have a warehousing operation which stores products and also reformats them into tankers for onward distribution. We currently run about 350 tractor units and about 570 bulk tank trailers. Our turnover is around about 65 million, or between 65 and 70 million. We predominantly operate in the UK, but we also operate in and out of Northern Europe, predominantly the Netherlands, Belgium and France. We have in-house tank washes. Obviously, being a tank business, that helps us with our operation of our business. We are very SHEQ and compliance focused. That's a necessity, particularly in the food sector. And we maintain in-house workshops, largely to deal with the complexities of the tank fleet and the discharge equipment associated with that. At the bottom of this slide, you'll see that we have various accreditations. These are quite simply the accreditations required to work in the sectors we do. For instance, we are the UK's largest distributor of oils and fats, so SCOPA is a requirement for us. Okay, if we go into the background of what happened at the start of the pandemic, so pandemic really picked up in the UK in March, and we started going into lockdown. And by the beginning of April, we'd seen a 70% reduction in the amount of traffic on UK roads. That took us back to the levels of the 1950s. And obviously, eased congestion massively. And as a business, we saw a drop in volume by 10%. This is fairly misleading as a figure, or in terms of the complexity of what we faced, because 10% volume drop is not that substantial. We see that week in, week out, or day in, day out, but overall we did drop by 10%. But in various sectors, the differences were colossal, from construction, where we had a complete stop. So we had groups of vehicles in that sector that literally went from 100% to no capacity, to no volume whatsoever. But then we saw other sectors where we saw considerable increases, and of course unforecast increases. So anything to do with baking, bread manufacturing, so the movement of flour, the volume went up considerably. And we had to deal with these variations throughout the country and the different sectors in a live environment without any warning. And the data we got from telematics was one of the key tools to help us do this effectively going into the lockdown, but also, as importantly, coming out of the lockdown, because it allowed us to measure the resource we would need in each sector of our business and move equipment around from where it wasn't needed to where it was required. Our delivery on time improved. That was simply a measurement of more reliable journey times and quicker journey times. And our average speeds increased. So again, I'll show you some more information around the average speeds, because it wasn't just a straightforward increase in speed. There were lots of other factors involved in that. Our MPG improved as our vehicles ran more effectively. Our drivers were far more content. So drivers generally come into work and want to do a job and want to do a good job. They're lone workers and they tend to be problem solvers. And if you give them information and you give them the right tools to the job, they generally go out and do a very, very good job. And they're trained to a very high level. And being able to do that without traffic constraints and the other frustrations they face day in, day out, they were very content and very happy, and they rose to the other challenges very well as a result. Fewer incidents on the road, so there was a 70% reduction in incidents for all road users in the UK during April compared to a normal month or a normal April. You would expect it to be greater than 70% given a 70% reduction in overall traffic, but I believe the reason it wasn't greater was because there was an increase in high speed incidents where some of the people using the roads that had less traffic on them chose to travel at greater speed, which actually disproportionately increased the number of high speed incidents. But these are all considerable benefits for a road transport business, obviously. And what we set out to do was understand what benefit we were getting and what was driving these benefits, and so we could try and maintain it. So what did we do? We were looking at data coming out of our existing Microlise systems, but we wanted to understand more about this. So we wanted to dig deeper into it. So we engaged with Microlise to work with their data science team and really take a deep dive into our telematics and find out what it could tell us. The analysis looked at our journey metrics for our whole fleet, so right across all 460 drivers, 350 trucks, and all of the tanks. We took the data from the Microlise telematics system and the data from other traffic data sources about volume of traffic on the roads. So we had a comparison between the UK published traffic data statistics and the Microlise data coming from our own fleet, so we could work out the impact of various factors on the overall journey speeds and improvements and efficiency in our vehicles, and where they related to congestion or just total number of road users or time of day, that type of thing. Once we understood all of the benefits, we could have a look at our operations and see what could be sustained. But as I said earlier, we could also move equipment around the country to where it was required or where we thought it'd be required, and away from where it wasn't required. And given that we did have an overall drop in volume, understandably, take some of it out of reach, park it up and not use it, so we weren't incurring the cost of it. This allowed us to move our fleet around the country effectively, use our driver resource effectively, provide our customers who had increasing volumes at short notice with the service they required, and retain or improve our efficiency. Business as usual with a question mark. So it was by no means business as usual. So although 10% reduction in volume feels manageable and okay, we saw a modest drop in the food sector, which is a core area of our business, and we saw, but across the whole of the UK, the number of commercial vehicles on the road dropped by half during lockdown. So we were in a different position than a lot of our competitors. What we found is that we could park up 10% of our fleet, so 90% of our fleet kept working, but we were able to furlough 20% of our driver workforce. So we were still achieving 90% of our volume with 20% less drivers. Some of that was to do with journey times. Some of that was to do with the time it takes to unloading customers, where processes had changed, so they were faster in a lot of instances. And the data we were getting and the deep dive we took on with Microlise helped us to understand all of these different factors. So where was it? What was it? Exactly what created the benefits or caused us issues? And certainly with no congestion, we were able to do a lot more with far less resource, which increases our capacity. So how do we use the data? It says on here, speed is the key. It's not just about vehicle speed, it's about the speed of processing orders as well. So as with every other business, when we went into lockdown, if people didn't need to be in work, they weren't asked to come into work, they went and they worked from home, or in some cases, some people unfortunately had to go into furlough. But what we found is, by necessity, a lot of things improved. So the order process through our business was slicker because our customers allowed it to be slicker, or they simplified their businesses, or their people were not in the office. So some things we used to do, we no longer had to do because there was no one in the customer's business to engage with. So traveling to meetings being a perfect example. But in terms of the vehicle, the average speed of the vehicle was the key metric to measure and understand traffic levels. So we have seen a direct correlation using the data we get from the telematics system and the analysis that Microlise have worked on with us between traffic levels and vehicle speed. So we can really predict traffic levels by the speed of our vehicles now, and we can see what they're doing week on week. And they're still not back to normal, but we can see it. We can see each change in government policy, so schools going back, people being asked to go to work. There's a direct correlation between the volume of traffic on the roads, the time of day of that traffic on the roads, and the speed of our vehicles. And we have that data now, and we can use that going forward. If we overlay that with the demand from customers, which is sat in our own systems, and service level performance, so we can see how well we're doing on product delivered on time, we're able to make very informed decisions about our resource requirement, where we want it, how we want to use it, when to bring people back into work. Going forward, it will direct our decisions on new trucks, on new tanks, on where we position them, and on the discussion we have with our customers about how we price things, when we load, and we will give them choices, informed choices backed by data. We will be able to give this to customers to say, if you ask us to do A, which generally speaking in our industry is to deliver feedstock or ingredients that people want to use today between 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning, then our fleet becomes less efficient later in the day. If you want us to do that, it will cost X, but you could do Y, or you could do, you've got lots of options and you can make informed choices. And I think now we're going through pandemic with all of this data, we have a delta position and all of the increments between that and a strong, very efficient operating position, then back again towards the delta. I won't run through these numbers individually, there's quite a lot on here, but what this tells you is the improvements we saw over a period of time. So from February before COVID-19, and then a period in April effectively, and a percentage change, and then on into May. And average speed is obviously an important factor here, but if you look at all of the data behind this, and it's a lot more detailed than this chart shows, what we've got is it's not just an improvement in the average journey time, it's how that's achieved. So in normal traffic conditions, a lorry might start from the depot early in the morning and have a very high, fast journey time and journey speeds, but then lose all of that benefit in heavy traffic later in the journey. What we saw through the lower congestion levels and lower amount of traffic on the road is that we were nearer to what would be a perfect solution, where a vehicle would have, in a perfect world, a vehicle would leave a depot, go up to whatever the average speed is, and just stay there without braking or accelerating. And we got nearer to that, rather than high speeds and very low speeds and all the braking and acceleration that goes on in between. And that was the key to a lot of this success, and it had a lot of fringe benefits around the maintenance and wear and tear on the vehicle. But as you can see from this chart, the average speeds increased, the miles per gallon improved, CO2 emissions dropped. That's logical if you're not accelerating and decelerating. The instances of acceleration are a percentage of harsh acceleration, is what we would call this. So this is where you accelerate over 95% of the potential of the vehicle, which is bad for fuel economy. They dropped, but you also have to remember, and the low level detail of this data shows that the number of accelerating events of acceleration braking also dropped, because the vehicles were traveling more effectively on less congested roads. So it's a drop in a percentage of reduced incidents anyway, so it's a double benefit. Less time engine idling, it's a big percentage, minus 10%. That's not sitting around waiting for something to happen in a queue. What was also interesting is, and this is another benefit that came from telematics, but it's a benefit we've already had, the green band driving percentage. This is where the driver drives the vehicle as well as is possible, regardless of traffic conditions. There wasn't a huge change in this. That's because these guys were already, from all the data they've been given over a number of years, coming out of telematics, have responded well to that, and we've trained people and taught them how to drive the vehicle and use it effectively. Then the data supports what they've done well or where they need to improve. So they were doing a good job of driving the vehicle irrespective of the traffic conditions before the pandemic and lockdown. So we didn't expect to see this improve a lot, because it's a factor of how they're driving regardless of traffic conditions. So they could be in A-band driving in a traffic queue as long as they do the best they can to drive the vehicle. So this is an indication that these are highly skilled guys and they can drive the vehicle well in various circumstances, and they did, which was great. And the cruise control one at the bottom, I don't know how many people who watch this have got cruise control on the car, but I've got it on mine, and I am absolutely certain that it is very difficult to drive on cruise control in heavy traffic, because somebody around you will do something and you will touch the brake or need to accelerate. And you can see that just the lack of congestion and the ability of the driver to drive the lorry to its best performance level is reflected in that. So these overall figures all show the same picture, which I hope I've articulated to you, that you've given the driver, a well-trained driver with good information, who knows what he's doing, in a decent vehicle on a road without congestion, you get a fantastic result. So where did we see benefits in this? Our repair and maintenance costs reduced. They reduced partly because we were running less vehicles, covering more or less 10% less volume, but we were doing more with the same vehicles, so the underlying maintenance cost and inspections cost dropped, some vehicles parked up. But also, if you're not braking and accelerating or having accidents or bumps, you don't have as high a maintenance cost. Driver well-being improved. They were happy. Sick went to its lowest point ever. We've never seen sick absence as low as it was through the lockdown. Delivery on time, performance improved. That's literally a factor of not having delays and good journey times. Our overhead costs reduced. Now, this is something I've not touched on so far, but through the pandemic, we were required to do things differently. People had to work at home, and one of the problem areas of distribution, which a lot of people will be familiar with, is things like managing a POD. It is a piece of paper that is carried by the driver till he gets back to a depot or his depot. Then somebody else has to take that piece of paper and process it and maybe complete the job in a traffic system. And quite often that has to be sent to a customer, who then will also handle that piece of paper in one way or another. We considered this early on and thought it's just not going to work to keep trying to do that when there's nobody in our offices. And even if we put people into offices to do it and send them to the customer, then to an office where the customer's probably got no one there. So we stopped trying where customers would allow us to do so and said, look, we'll still be responsible for this, but there are other ways of proving that your load was delivered. And again, the telematics helped us do this. We can prove from the ring fencing that the lorry loaded. There'll be data in a customer system to show how much was loaded into the tank. It'll be metered or weighed. We then have all the information showing the journey, when it arrived at the delivery point, when it actually turned on its discharge equipment and started discharging the product into the customer's tank or silo. And then there will be some more data from a weighbridge or the next loading point that shows that the vehicle was empty. So we could deal all this. We had a lot of this systemized already in Abbey, but where customers had previously wanted, or some customers previously wanted to stick with the paper POD, the necessity to do something different forced everybody into a position where we stopped trying to manage the POD so much, and Abbey and customers found benefits from that. And it's another thing that we can take into the future. Now people have got used to it through necessity or adversity, and say, come on, if that didn't feel too bad, let's get that systemized and let's start talking about not having so much focus on the POD. So it's another good thing we can take forward. Obviously, air quality improved, particularly in urban areas where lorries keep moving. This is going to be more important as clean air zones increase in the future. We now have some data to show us what that looks like. We know the speed our vehicles travel into urban areas before lockdown, during lockdown, and coming out of lockdown. So all of that data is going to help us make informed decisions and help customers in the future. We had a reduction in accidents, as the whole of the UK did. That's obviously good. And we increased the systemization of the order to payment cycle. So this is a factor of necessity in some respects, through people not being in their normal roles in the offices, but and also some simplification in customers' businesses, which they have fully understood the benefits of that, and hopefully we can carry it on. So really, we made as much digital and electronic as possible so people could work at home. It worked well. It worked far better than we anticipated it would, and it's something we can hang on into the future. And it required less people and less hours. So the trend across of MPG really did track. So this is fairly high level. It's just a straight MPG performance, but the commentary on the right-hand side of this slide really does mirror activity, just as an example. So our average speed peaked at 40.5 miles an hour on the 11th of May, which was literally one day after the announcement that lockdown was going to ease, and then as people started going back to work and things started heading back to whatever normal will be going forward, we've seen it deteriorate back down again. And then it has continued to follow trends. So where we get an improvement in MPG, it's generally because something's been happening, say a bank holiday or some other factor that reduced traffic on the UK roads. But clearly one of the biggest benefits we've had is from quicker journeys and more reliable journeys, and our customers have seen an improvement in service level as a result of that. So how do we maintain the benefits going forward? What can we maintain? We won't be able to maintain all of them. Traffic levels are increasing, but there is a lot we've learned here and a lot we can take forward, and it doesn't just apply to Abbey, it applies to other businesses, and it is about data, it is about perfect knowledge of what's going on and then being able to make informed decisions in a lot of instances. So in terms of rethinking our operations, the data we gather through lockdown is now used to inform us literally on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis about our resource levels and how we manage things, and we have lots of variants of traffic congestion, volume, demand, regional demand, sector demand, where we have the data now. So if we see if a customer forecasts an increase in volume in sector A, we know exactly what that means to us in terms of resource now, and we can gear up for that in terms of vehicle numbers, back office, drivers, everything. Where we've tried in the past to put more volume onto the time of day when roads are quieter, it's been difficult to get traction on that. Most of our customers are very focused on servicing their customers' requirements. Absolutely right to do that. So asking our customers to move the delivery times means them asking their customers to change their behaviour, and that's a difficult conversation. And some end users are not in a position to do that because of inventory levels. But now we've got data to show the size of the prize and the benefit and how that can increase capacity. That's going to be more logical, process driven and data based discussion. So I think we will see some more traction on that going forward. And of course, the bottom point on there, how do we maintain all of the benefits? So customers' delivery times, I've touched on it. Can we manage delivery times differently? Can we push things into off-peak hours, weekends, or avoid? Probably the key thing is to avoid the peak hours. And we definitely can retain some of the benefits that realised lockdown in terms of work processes. So we will work with customers to see what's possible for each individual customer in that respect. I think there's another piece in here around inventory levels as well. There's been a focus for very understandable reasons over a long period of time about everybody reducing inventory and just in time. Now we've got clear data that gives us a financial answer. That might not always be the right answer. It might be that inventory levels, it's better for the end user to have a slightly higher inventory level that allows us to give better customer service by delivering at a time that's the right time to do the delivery rather than immediately before the product's required for production. It'll be different for different people, but it's something we'll explore. We've also learned, which I'm sure a lot of other businesses, not to contribute to the problem. We were the same before the lockdown, generally speaking. Our people travelled to work at normal working times of day, every day of the week. We've changed that now. We've introduced a degree of flexibility. We have some people working from home. So we've reduced our impact as a business across the 600 people we employ on the impact they have on the UK road and transport infrastructure. And although we've seen generally volumes of traffic on the roads are increasing, they've not gone back to pre-pandemic levels yet, and hopefully they won't. There's clearly some things we can do as an industry. As an industry, we now know the effect that less traffic has had on our performance, CO2 emission, and all the other things we're trying to achieve as an industry. And we can lobby government through trade associations to look at alternative transport schemes. Our railway network is not going to carry a lot more freight in the next 10 years. The capacity is not there, but maybe that's not the way to go in a country the size of the UK. I don't know the answer to this, but maybe the way is to encourage more and more people off the road, so the transport flows easier on the road. But there's a lot can be done there, and surely there must be lessons to be learned. And as we say, between telematics providers, transport businesses, government data, there's so much data there now that a data-driven discussion based on facts can take place now. We focus continually now on really daily on the analysis of the key metrics in our business. And we are much more proficient at predicting the impact of demand, changes in customer behaviour, changes in geography on the service we provide customers and the cost of those services. And I think other people will be in the same place to do that. So these are strong things that we can take forward. So looking forward again, we saw improvements in just about every area of our business, working through the lockdown and using digital information more. Our fleet ran more effectively, our maintenance costs were reduced, and we've had a lot of positives from an adverse situation. We can continue by using this data to inform customers as well. So cost to serve is a big thing for our customers. They want to understand the difference between supplying a product to customer A and customer B, and we've made a lot of progress in recent years on that. This takes it to a whole new level, so we can take it to right down to a granular level now with low level data. So that customer there in the middle of that city delivering at that time is actually costing a lot more to do and reducing efficiency compared to delivering to an alternative customer in another area of the country, or who has a different delivery time or an open delivery window. And it'll not happen overnight, but giving our customers the data and information weekly and monthly that shows them against a target or where we've come from or where we want to be, how we're progressing, and highlighting which bits are working and which bits are not working so well will drive that forward. So again, this is generic really to other customers. Telematic data has driven vehicles from 20 years ago with where's my truck, through how do I get my truck to work harder, how do I get my driver to perform better. These are all things that have been done, and now the data's given us more and more information around traffic speeds in different areas of the country, delays, journey times, which is the next level up of data to help drive business efficiency forward, and that's available to anyone. The telematics can be used commercially to show people cost to serve, how things work, how it affects service level, which areas of the country. So a delivery on time performance given to a customer each week. Really what that customer needs to see is not whether it was 98% or 98.5% or 100%, but is it the same customers in the same area of the country or the same traffic congestion that's causing the problem all the time? And this sort of information is usual in people's personal lives now through their experience with online shopping, where they get so much data straight through a mobile phone in their personal life. showing them, when their parcel will be delivered, who will deliver it, and it narrows down throughout the day, and they get almost perfect information on that. That is now an expectation from our customers and their customers in the workplace, and telematics will help us and our whole industry drive that forward. We will work with customers, and so can everyone else, on if they can show us what demand looks like and what's possible, we can tell them how we can manage delivery profiles, inventory levels, and the balance of all these things to get a good solution. And we will continue to collect more and more data, and we will use that to structure our pricing, our infrastructure, where we place vehicles, how we operate vehicles, the type of vehicles we operate, the sectors we work in, and it will help drive our business forward, and hopefully help our customers make informed decisions and drive their businesses forward as well. So pandemic was not a great thing, obviously. It's been a terrible event for a lot of the country, but there's a lot we can learn from this, and we can take forward, and we can use for good purposes. So hopefully that gives you an overview of what we've done, what we've achieved, some of the good things that have come out of this, and how we can take some things forward. And I hope it will be useful to other people, and I hope other people have had similar experiences. And thank you very much for listening.